first business person that they're gonna see that looks like them, you know, to stay in their neighborhood is more than likely gonna be somebody who's selling drugs. You know, he's gonna have a nice car, he's gonna have the clothes, or the lifestyle that is attractive to a young person. You know, it's gonna more than likely be a drug dealer. I mean, there's exceptions to the rule, but I'm saying in general, in most neighborhoods, this is the situation. This is actual fact. And so the rappers come up idolizing these guys and imitating them and taking on their stories and their likeness, and then they pass those same messages on to our children, not knowing that our children are taking their words to be true.
Right. Speaking of our young people, when they pick up this book and read the knowledge and everything that is coming from your heart in this book, what would you want them to take from this book?
It's funny you asked me that. A guy just called me today who read the book, and I asked him. First, he told me it was a great read. I said, nah, I didn't want it to be a great read. I didn't write this book to be entertaining. I don't really like entertainment. You know, I'm not an entertainment type of person. I don't watch TV. I don't go to movies. I'm really a serious, to the point person. You know, I'm one track minded. I'm gonna go and get whatever it is I'm trying to do. I'm gonna get that done. Because I don't like being sidetracked. So when I wrote this book to be an educational tool. I wanted it to be where you know, a kid could pick this book up and be like, I'm getting ready to start selling drugs today. Let me see what's gonna happen. And he opened up the book and he's gonna know exactly what's gonna take place. And then he can go to the back of the book and it's gonna tell him what's gonna happen. And it's gonna let him know that it's gonna probably be one of your friends. It's gonna set you up and get you put in prison. This is how the judge is gonna treat you. This is what the police is gonna do. So now they have an outline of what it is that they finna get into. Because when I went into the drug business, I didn't know what I was going into. I knew what the guys that I knew told me, but I found out a lot of the stuff that they told me wasn't true, that they didn't even know.
Right.
You know, so a lot of my stuff was trial and error, and I don't really want it to be trial and error for our young people. I also found out through my trial and error that the skills that I use to sell drugs are transferable. What do I mean by that? I mean that the same skills that I use to sell drugs, I use in the courtroom when I won my case. You know, when I went to court, I told you I was illiterate, but at the end of my time in prison in my court, I would walk in the courtroom and I felt, not saying that I was right or wrong, but I felt that I was the smartest person in the courtroom. I felt that I knew more about the law than my judge, and my prosecutor, and my lawyer, and the police and everybody else in there. I didn't think that none of them knew more about my case than I did. I studied from sometimes 6 in the morning to 3 or 4 at night. I would wake up and it would be breakfast time again, and I would be there with a book laying on my chest where I fell asleep reading. So I dove into the law. I put my all into it. You know, I put the TV away, the radio. I stopped playing board games, chess, and I just dove into the books. And I would do that day in and day out for years and years and years until my IQ became up to a certain level, to where I felt that I could compete in the courtroom with anybody. when it came down to my case. I mean, there was other cases that I didn't know as much about. You know, if you'd have been talking about bank robbery, you know, I read a few bank robbery cases because guys would come in and they would ask me about a case, would ask me to read a case, and I would read it, and I would know a little about it. I knew a little bit about immigration law. So there was other fields of law that I did know about, but when it came down to entrapment, the 3-strike law, I had read every case that they had in the law books.
Wow. Now, did you have anyone that was on the outside, you know, mentally supporting you, you know, trying to help you?
I did. My mom never stopped. She never stopped coming to see me. You know, a few other people, you know, would occasionally assist, but for the most part, you know, when you lose your substance, you lose your friends, and that's another thing that I try to talk about in this book, is that the reason that I lost all my friends is because I lost my value. I no longer had value to them. So when you don't have value to people, they don't want to have anything to do with you, which is normal. I mean, if you take a bottle of water and you drink all the water out of it, then you just don't walk around with empty water bottles in your bag.
Right.
You know, you take them and recycle them or throw them in the trash can.
Right.
And that's pretty much what happens when you go to prison. When you go to prison, you lose your value, and people no longer want to associate with you. When I first went to prison, I was a little mad about it, but after I sit down and I thought about it, it gave me an idea, is to create a substance that I would have inside the prison.
Wow.
But we are all strong. I mean, we come from a people that survived one of the worst traumas that has ever been put on the people. I just finished reading a book called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, and this lady taught me about slavery like nobody else had ever taught it. And what she talked about really opened my eyes, and I believe what she said, because I consider myself a critical thinker, and I could take what she said and analyze it, and it made sense. She showed us a picture of a black guy being hung after church on Sunday, and how all the people in the picture were smiling and laughing, and they had absolutely no sympathy for this man. And they didn't even know if he was innocent or guilty, but the fact that nobody had sympathy for him. And it's almost the same thing that they're doing to us right now, where cops are killing innocent people. You know,
Right.
A guy might have a BB gun, but the guy who not so long ago was with his wife and his daughter was in the back seat. He told the guy, "I'm a licensed gun carrier," and the guy still shot and killed him. And then they take the guy to court and they find him innocent. Or Trayvon Martin, who was walking down the street and this guy followed him, and they get into a fight and he killed Trayvon, and they say that Trayvon was wrong because he fought somebody that was stalking him. Basically, this guy was really stalking the kid.
Correct. Yes, it was.
I would call that stalking. You know, if somebody was following me, I would be considered that as stalking. So when I read this book, and this book showed me so much about our people, their strength and determination to make it. We come from a strong stock of people just for us to be here today surviving. And that's why I have to exercise the strength that my ancestors gave me.
Correct. To go back to the police brutality in the black community, because of what you've been through, your trials, tribulations, and you being, as we say, as an OG, how do you think we should address the brutality in the black community? How should we address it? And because it seems like there's nothing being done about it right now, how should we, what type of approach do you think should be done?
Well, we got to start showing our strength. And when I say showing our strength, I don't mean with guns and fighting, because we can't win that.
Right.
You know, they got all the tanks, they got the airplanes, they got the helicopters. We already know too, they done drop bombs on citizens. I think they did it here in Detroit too, right? One time they dropped a bomb on some projects. I know they did it in Philadelphia. So we already know we can't win with violence. And when I was sitting in prison, you know, I was saying, wow. Because I was mad. You know, when I saw everything that had happened, the government was involved, and then they gave me a life sentence without the possibility of parole, and they let the guy who I'm getting my drugs from get 28 months. I'm mad. I said, man, I'm gonna get out. When Timothy McVeigh blew up the world, the Justice Department, whatever it was in Oklahoma, I rooted for Timothy McVeigh. That's how mad I was at this system. But Farrakhan had opened me up to the fact that we can't win with guns and bombs. That the only way we can win is with knowledge.
Correct.
Become strong knowledge-wise and educate ourselves. And that's when I started to read books about people who run the country, or who had ran the country. I read both. Before I left prison, I read over 300 books. I used to read the newspaper every single day. The first book I ever read was Malcolm X's book. And what Malcolm told me is that, and when I read books, I read a book as if the person's talking to me.
Right.
You know, another story I'll tell y'all in a second. But whenever I read a book, I read as if that person is talking to me personally, not if I'm just, you know, flipping through a page and I'm entertaining myself. But I take a book and I analyze it as if that person was talking to me. And that's the way I study the guys who run this country and the guys who used to run this country. I analyzed their books, and I started to come up with my own game plan.
Wow. Let me ask you this question. And I have been wanting to know this from you for years, since I was a teenager. How would you feel, because I know that you said, you know, you're not an entertaining person, you know, movies, but what happened if producers came to you and wanted to do a movie based on your life? How would you feel about that?
And we should do a movie about my life, because my life is the life of millions of young black men who grew up in this country, who went down the path. I mean, even right now today, we got 600,000 black men in prison for non-violent drug offenses. When I was in prison, it was so bad that they would let a raper out of prison so that they could put a drug dealer in that bed. And yeah, drugs are bad. I'm not gonna say that drugs are not bad. But with drugs, it's two grown, consensual people engaged in an activity.
Correct.
In the law books, they call a drug crime a victimless crime. Why do they call it a victimless crime? Because nobody's gonna come in and say that he sold me drugs. It's usually a police officer that's gonna come in and say, I went undercover and I bought drugs from him. Usually the drug users don't come in court unless the cops are twisting their arm, you know, got him in a chokehold, and they come in and say that this guy sold me drugs. Usually that don't happen.
Right.
That's a rare occasion when it does. So they consider it a victimless crime. So when you see them letting out robbers and murderers and rapists to make room for guys who are essentially doing crime where two adults agreed upon a deal, I think it's retarded.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Is it anybody that you dedicate this book to? You know, who's really special to you?
I dedicated it to my mom, my dad. Even though I didn't know my dad, I still understand what he went through as a black man. You know, in the '60s and the '50s, and the pressure that he probably was under. You know, not to be there to watch after his son, to make sure that I got the nourishing and what's the word? You know, just the guidance that a young man needs. You know, a family needs the father. The father is the strength and the backbone.
Yes, it is. How many cities are you on for this book tour?
My plan is to do the whole United States. You know, I want to go to every barbershop, beauty salon, podcast, radio station, just everywhere, because you know, they don't want to do my story.
Which they should.
Right now they got a TV series coming out called Snowflakes.
Yeah.
I've got, I don't know how many hits on the internet. Rick, they're doing your story. They stole your story. They stole your story again. Somebody else stole your story. So what that tells me is that Hollywood likes my story, but they don't like me, because they don't want me to be involved with it. I think that they don't want to show people the mentality of a real black drug dealer, what his mentality is, what his temperament is, how he acts. You know, that he's not a mad, raving killer who's toting a gun. Just, you know, just the whole perspective of this super predator that they put us out at.
Let's talk about this Snowflake they got coming out, which is also based on your life.
Well, I don't know that for a fact. I haven't saw it. The previews, and I just glanced at the previews. I haven't really watched the previews, but I get a lot of calls, text messages, and people hit me up online saying that this is my story. And John Singleton came to my documentary when it premiered in LA, and he did buy a book from me.
Okay. How would you feel, you know, with John Singleton wanting to direct your movie and you be 100%?
I asked him to direct my movie. He read my movie script that we wrote, and he was one of our first choices as a director.
Okay. And is anything going to develop from that? Because I know we are definitely hoping to see something like that.
Well, we have a meeting Tuesday. I don't know if it's, you know, it's going to be more of a hostile meeting, because I feel that he possibly could have stole my story and sold it to Hollywood when I wouldn't sell my story to Hollywood. Hollywood tried to buy my story, I didn't sell it.
Okay.
So I feel that it's wrong for me not to sell it, and then somebody else go and sell it to him, but change the name, but selling the same story.
Right.
It's like he undercut what I was doing, and it was a reason that I didn't take their offer when they offered me what they offered me. You know, they told me that my book wasn't gonna come out, and now my book is out. I'm a bestseller. Getting ready to sell 100,000 copies myself, and I was gonna get my TV series done myself. I'm still gonna get it done,
Right.
but it just makes it a little tougher when somebody already sells the story that you selling, but they took the name off.
Right. Who would you like to see out there direct your movie if you had your choice of black directors?
I don't know. Right now, I'm working with Reginald Hudlin.
Of a house party.
Yeah, from the Husband Brothers.
Yes.
You know, he used to be the president of BET. I really like Reginald. Out of all the people that I met in Hollywood, he seems to be the most intelligent and the most conscious, black consciousness, you know, first and foremost. I gotta stay black. You know, I gotta think about what I do and my people. You know, how is it gonna affect my people? And not just my kids and my brothers, but my people is all around me. You know,
Right.
everybody who looks like me and going through the same thing that I'm going through. And the kids who are gonna go through the same thing that I went through. So whenever I do something, I'm always looking at it from that angle, not just for myself, but for everybody that I'm dealing with. And I like Reginald. I really like Reginald. I mean, I like the John too.
Right.
He was a little square than I'm accustomed to. You know,
Right.
Reginald, he was square, but you could tell that he still had his blackness. You know, he still was
Right.
conscious of what his people had been through. You know, he told me some stories that he wanted to do, and I would love to work with him on some of those stories.
Most definitely. I'm definitely hoping that happens. You know, would you want this to be a straight to TV or big screen?
Well, we probably wind up doing both because the story is really too big for just a TV, just a movie. You know, to tell it in an hour and 40 minutes is a bit much. Everybody who wrote the scripts all struggled on scripts being too long. So we were thinking about doing a TV series, and you know, and just laying the whole story out, and not only my story, but other guys who I came in contact with, which was in the same line of work or not in the same line of work, because you know, when you in this business, you run across so many different people in so many different fields.
Most definitely, that's the truth. Say to everybody out there, and here, thank you for your support, for supporting us and pulling for us while I was out covering the BET Awards. You will see that soon, and you will see this amazing interview with the one and only Rick Ross right here on reality313radio.com. Until then, stay blessed, continue to stay focused, never take no for our answer. Peace.